Shalom, shalom. Most high in Christ bless. Most high in Christ bless. Can you see and hear me? Can you see and hear me clearly? Shalom, family. Most high in Christ bless. Okay, all praises. Yes, yes, clear. All right, all right. We have a brother or a soldier that can scribe today. A brother or soldier that can scribe. All praises. All praises to the Most High. We ready to get started. Give another minute or two. Get somebody that can scribe for us. Um, Welcome to another edition of IUIC Four Chapters a Day. Um, I'm your host today, Officer Kimuel out of Orlando Camp. We will be reading out of the book of First Kings, chapter 21 and 22, and Second Kings, chapters 1 and 2. All right, so First Kings, chapter 21 and 22, and Second Kings sent me a message. Second Kings 1 and 2. Okay, so we got somebody to scribe. We got a scribe. We're gonna go ahead and get started in the reading. All right, we're gonna get started. Um, First Kings chapter 21 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the place of Ahab, king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And I will give it thee, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it. Or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. Okay, so King Ahab wanted him either to trade or sell his vineyard. Okay, he said it's near me. Okay, verse 3. And Naboth said unto Ahab, Lord forbid it, that I should give it the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. He said, I can't do that. You know, that was given to me. That's the inheritance. That's my inheritance. I can't give you that land right there. And Ahab came into his place. I'm sorry. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. So he's having a fit. Okay. He came in the house and he just went and laid down. You know what I'm saying? He was angry because he couldn't get his way. All right. Um, let's read on. Verse 5. But Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So look what she's saying. She's coming in and she's saying, why are you so sad? Ain't you the king? Huh? So don't worry about it. I'll get the vineyard for you. All right. Verse 8. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. Now it says she wrote letters in his name and sealed them with his seal. What does that mean? And sealed them with his seal. Okay, let's get some understanding on that. Let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 17. All right. Daniel chapter 6 and verse 17. It says, And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Okay, so the king has a signet. Um, Many of you may have seen, I don't know if they still use them anymore, but a rubber stamp where well, yeah, they still use it in the courthouse where they'll stamp it in ink and then boom, stamp a seal. Like when you get a marriage certificate or you get your name changed. Some of you that have gotten your names changed, you'll get an official copy and it'll have a seal. Okay, so it's much the same thing. All right, so let's go back. First Kings chapter 21, verse 8 again. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote letters, and she wrote in the letter, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set two men, sons of Belial, before him to bear witness against him, saying, Thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. Okay, so now what is Jezebel doing? She's setting up a plot, evil counsel. Okay, verse 11. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them. And it was so, and it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in two men, children of Belial, meaning children of the devil, okay? Children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. And they carried him forth out of the city and stoned him with stones that he died. Okay. So they raised a false report. They were false witnesses. We read that in the Ten Commandments, right? Exodus 20 and 16. We're not supposed to bear false witness. Let's read on. Verse 14. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. And it came to pass when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money. For Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab arose that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite to take possession of it. Okay, so what do you call that today? That's extortion. Okay, when you take something uh, violently, okay, you're gonna force somebody into giving up what they have. All right, let's read Ezekiel 22. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22. We're gonna read verses 12 and 13. Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 12 and 13. It says, verse 12, in thee have they taken gifts to shed blood. Thou hast taken usury and increased, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion. That's the part I wanted to read right there. It says, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith the Lord. Behold, therefore I have smitten mine hand against thy dishonest gain which thou hast made, and and at thy blood which hath been in the midst of thee. So he's saying in this case that uh they have used extortion, meaning Ahab and Jezebel. And this Ahab also, because Ahab sat by, he let Jezebel do the crime, but he didn't say nothing because he wanted the field. He coveted that field. Okay, so he let Jezebel do the crime, and then he went right on in, and he turned away his face from evil. All right, so that's what we're reading about right now. Let's go to verse 16. I'm sorry, verse 17. First Kings chapter 21 and verse 17. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he has gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, thus saith the Lord, hast thou killed and also take possession? And taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, thus say the Lord, in the place where the dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Elijah, hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut them off from Ahab, him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. So when you read that him that pisseth against the wall, that's talking about the males, okay? That's talking about the males. He said he would take them away. All right, verse 22. And I will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger and made Israel to sin. Okay, so now what does he mean that he's going to make Ahab's house like the house of Jeroboam and the house of Baasha? So we've read this. We're going to go back just briefly um, and go into the history. First Kings chapter 14, verse 10. First Kings chapter 14 and verse 10. And it reads, therefore I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off from Jeroboam him that pisseth against the wall. That's what we just read. And him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man taketh away dung till it be all gone. So he's saying, that's what he meant by I'm gonna take away the posterity. I'm killing all the males. Okay. Now, Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 16 and where is that? 1 Kings 16 and 11. Let's read about Baasha. All right, and it says, and it came to pass when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that pisseth against the wall, neither of his kinsmen, neither of his kinsfolk, nor of his friends. Okay, so when we read, I'm gonna read it again. Um, 1 Kings 21 and verse 22. And I will make the house, and I will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger and made Israel to sin. So the Lord, through Elijah, is prophesying judgment on the house of Ahab, and he used the examples of Jeroboam and Baasha. All right. Now let's go to verse 23. And Jezebel also spake the Lord, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel, and him that dieth of Ahab in the city the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. Okay, so now let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Let's see and read that in the curses. Okay, he said, him that dieth in the field, the fowls of the air shall eat. So let's get that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. Okay, we read that again. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. So the Lord is pronouncing judgment on the house of Ahab, saying that his wife, his wife, the dogs are going to eat. Him that dieth in the city, the dogs are going to eat. And him that dieth in the field, their carcass is going to be meat for the fowls. Okay. All right. Let's go back. 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 25. And it came to pass, I'm sorry, 25. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things as did the Amorites, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring evil upon his house. Okay, he's saying, I'm gonna fall back from destroying Ahab like I thought to do, because he humbled himself. But that punishment is now going to be transferred unto his son. Okay. Now let's go to 1 Kings chapter 22. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. And it came to pass in the third year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, ye know that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Syria. And he said unto Jehoshaphat, wilt thou go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, inquire, I pray thee, at the word of the Lord today. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. So now the king of Israel had 400 prophets that he went to, and they all spoke the same. They said, Hey, go up to Ramoth Gilead. The Lord is going to deliver it into your hands. All right. Verse 7. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there here a prophet of the Lord besides that we may inquire of him? And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Micaiah, the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the king say so. So Jehoshaphat was like, Ain't no other kings that we can go to. Um, I'm not really feeling the prophecy of the kings of Israel. I mean, of the prophets of Israel. Now, uh, I want to hit on that point just for a minute. Bishop had brought out um, in this past Sabbath class concerning the split the that was between Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom, how the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom dealt with each other or didn't deal with each other, like a better term. So let's get that in 2 Kings 3. Let's get some understanding of that. This is 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 13. And we're reading about Elisha. All right. So this was a little bit further in time, but it's still reflective on how the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom, after the split, was dealing with each other. All right. And Elisha, this is 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 13. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father, and to the prophets of thy mother, and to the king of Israel. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these three kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. So Elisha, the prophet, was saying, Hey, I ain't got nothing to do with you. He's talking to the king of Israel, like, I ain't got nothing to do with you. Go to the prophets of your fathers and the prophets of your mother. Now, why was he saying that? What happened after the split? Let's get Second Chronicles chapter 13. What happened after the split between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom? Second Chronicles chapter 13, verse 9. And it says, Have you not cast out the priests of the Lord, the sons of Aaron, and made the Levites, and have made you priests after the manner of the nations of the other lands? So that whosoever cometh to consecrate himself with a young bullock and 7 rams, the same may be a priest of them that are no gods. Okay, because what did Jeroboam do? He quickly cast out the priests, okay, and set up the basis of men as priests. All right, so that's what Elisha was referring to. Like I ain't got nothing to do with you, because what? Yeah, they fell off into idolatry. Okay, and not only did they fall off into idolatry, but they forsook the Levites, which in the law says not to forsake the Levites. All right, let's get another one. Let's get Let me see if I want this right quick. Let me read this one first. See if I want this. Okay, this is another example. All right, this is during the time of Amos. All right, And it says, this is Amos chapter 7, verse 10. Then Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, said to Jeroboam, the king of Israel, saying, Amos hath conspired against thee in the midst of the house of Israel, and the land is not able to bear all his words. For thus Amos saith, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of their own land. This is what uh, Amos was prophesying in the name of the Lord. Verse 12. Also, Amaziah said unto Amos, O thou seer, go, flee thee away into the land of Judah, and there eat bread, and prophesy there. But prophesy not again any more at Bethel, for it is the king's chapel, and it is the king's court. Okay, so, just like what we read in Isaiah 30, when it says, don't tell us right things, prophesy unto us smooth things. Okay, so what was going on is now when we go back to 1 Kings 22, 1 Kings 22 and we're going to read verse 7 again. And Jehoshaphat said, is there not a prophet of the Lord besides that we may inquire of him? And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micaiah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord. But I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so, because Jehoshaphat wasn't trusting that prophecy coming from the kingdom. All right, you got 400 prophets, and they all saying the same thing, but still, Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, he wasn't moved by that. He said, I need to hear from a real prophet of the Lord. All right. Verse 9. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, hasten hither Micaiah the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah, the son of Chenani, made him horns of iron and said, thus saith the Lord. Now here again, somebody saying, thus saith the Lord, right? With these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them. And all the prophets prophesied, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the king's hand. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Meaning all the 400, they speaking the same thing. All right. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of them. I'm sorry, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. So the same thing they're saying, I expect you to get up there and say the same thing, Micaiah. Okay. And Micaiah said, as the Lord liveth, what the Lord saith unto me, that will I speak. And he came to the king and said unto him, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that hath not a shepherd. And the Lord said, these have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. And now, therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. Okay, so you see that the Lord put a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets. I just thought about something right quick. Let me see if I can find it real quick. If I can't, we're gonna move on. Uh, uh, Bear with me just a second, Israel. Bear with me just a second. Uh, Thought I had this precept, but I do not. So there we go. All right, all right. One chapter back. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 12, 16. Job chapter 12, verse 16. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. Okay. The deceived and the deceiver are his. It says, He leadeth counselors away spoiled and maketh the judges fools. Okay, so it's the Most High that sent that lying spirit. Go back, First Kings 22. It's the Most High that sent that lying spirit to deceive Ahab. Okay, let me find my spot here. First Kings chapter 22, and now we're in verse 24. First Kings chapter 22 and verse 24. But Zedekiah the son of Chenani went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, Which way went the spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee? So he's saying, how you saying that the spirit of the Lord ain't on me? So he went and slapped Micaiah. Okay. And the king of Israel said, Take Micaiah and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, Thus saith the king, Put this fellow in prison, and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If thou wilt return it all in peace, the Lord hath not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. The king of Israel, Ahab was evil. He was wicked. He was an evil brother, okay, evil king. But the king of Syria commanded his 30 captains that had rule over his chariots, saying, Fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Israel. And it came to pass when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat that they said, Surely it is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out, and it came to pass when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, Turn thy hand and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed upon his chariot against the Syrians, and died at even. And the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation throughout the host about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man to his own country. So the king died, and was brought to Samaria. And they buried the king of Samaria. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood, and they washed his armor according to the word of the Lord which he spake. Because remember what that judgment that we read in earlier, the prophecy about Ahab and about his house. So now we're starting to read the prophecy being fulfilled about him, about the dogs licking up the blood. All right, verse 39. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab and all that he did, and the ivory house which he had made, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, his son reigned in his stead. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 20 and 5 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name, wait a minute. Let me get back here. Okay. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father, and turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he showed, and how he warred, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And the remnant of the Sodomites, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. There was then no king in Edom, a deputy was king. Okay, so it says there was at that time no king in Edom. Okay. Why was there no king in Edom? Let's get First Chronicles chapter 22. First Chronicles chapter 22, verse 17. And it says, David also commanded all the princes of Israel to help Solomon his son, saying, Is not the Lord your God with you? And hath he not given you rest on every side? For he hath given the inhabitants of the land into mine hand, and the land is subdued before the Lord and before his people. Okay, so up until the time we're reading about, King David has subdued Edom and the rest of the nations, and they had not yet revolted. Okay, so let's go back. First Kings chapter 22, verse 48. Jehoshaphat made ships excuse me, Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Ezion Geber. Then said Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, unto Jehoshaphat, Let my servants go with thy servants in the ships. But Jehoshaphat would not. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father, and Jehoram, or Jehoram, I'm sorry, Jehoram, Jehoram, his son, reigned in his stead. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. For he served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked to anger the Lord God of Israel, according to all that his father had done. Ah, all praise to the Most High. Get a little hydration. Okay, let's go to the book of Second Kings. All right, Second Kings chapter 1 and verse 1. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. Okay, so we just read in First Kings 22 and 47 that there is no king in Edom. Now we read in Second Kings chapter 1 verse 1, then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. Let's go to Second Samuel. Let's go to Second Samuel chapter 8. All right. Second Samuel, we're gonna read chapter 8, verse 1 and 2. All right. And after this, it came to pass that David smote the Philistines and subdued them. And David took Methegama out of the hand of the Philistines. And he smote Moab and measured them with a line, casting them down to the ground. Even with 2 lines measured he to put to death, and with 1 full line to keep alive. And so Moab became David's servants. Okay. Moab became David's servants and bought gifts, gifts being tribute. You bring your gold and your silver and the best of whatever you have to him that's ruling. So that's what we just read in First Chronicles. Also, David subdued all the people. All right, but now because of our wickedness, let's read this. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Let's keep it in context for the understanding of what's going on here. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. All right. It says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. That's what we just read. King David subdued these nations. Okay, let's jump down to verse 7. The Lord shall cause thine enemies to rise up against thee, to be smitten before thy face, and they shall come out against thee 1 way and flee before thee 7 ways. Again, that's going back into how David had, because he served the Lord smote his enemies before him. All right. Verse 9, the Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. Okay. So now that's the blessing side. That's what was going on. It began when David started subduing all the nations, because what? David served the Lord. The Lord said he was after his own heart. All right. So now Israel started to prosper in the ways of the Lord. Okay. Under King David. Now let's get to the curses. Verse 15, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Okay, so now we read one of them in verse 26, but I want to jump down. Uh, Yeah, verse 25. I'm going to read verse 25 and 26 together. And the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies, and thou shalt go out 1 way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Now, keep in mind, northern kingdom had gone off. Who was first removed out of the land? Northern kingdom, all right, by the Assyrians. Okay. Verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. And what are we reading? Remember the prophecy that we read that was going to be upon uh, Ahab and his house. All right. So now let's go back. 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 1 again. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. And Ahaziah fell down through the lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers unto and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. Beelzebub being the Lord of the Flies. He said, Go to them. Go to Beelzebub and inquire. All right. Verse 3. But the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise and go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is no God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now, therefore, thus saith the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And when the messengers turned back unto him, he said unto them, Why are ye now turned back? And they said unto him, There came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, Go and turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but that shall surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he which came up to meet you and told you these words? And they answered him, He was an hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. So you got to understand, I'll say it like this, just like today, you see how Bishop has been going over Christianity and been tearing down Christianity, because what's one of the biggest faults with Christianity, besides they believe in white Jesus, they don't read the Bible. They don't understand. They don't keep God's commandments. They don't understand history. Okay. And because they don't understand history, therefore they don't understand the prophecies or read the Bible correctly. All right. So now, with that said, you have a king, Ahab, right? Now he's supposed to be keeping the commandments, and he's supposed to teach his son. So now let's go back and read some history. Now we have his son, Ahaziah, right, saying, Go inquire of the God of Ekron. All right. So let's go and read some history that Ahaziah should have known. Let's get 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 10 and 11. 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 10. All right. 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 10. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, They have brought about the ark of God, of the God of Israel, to us, to slay us and our people. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. Okay. So they understood that their God was not greater than the God of Israel. But here you have an Israelite king that's saying, Go and inquire of this same God whom could not defend his people against the God of Israel. All right, that's how simple we are today. Okay, we are still that simple where we'll trust in our oppressors. We at a time where we doing what? Voting. Okay, so we still trusting in our oppressors, just as Ahaziah did at that time. All right. So let me get back on the reading. Uh, now let's jump down to verse 9. First Kings, or I'm sorry, Second Kings, chapter 1, verse 9. Then the king sent unto the captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on the top of an hill, and spake unto him, Thou man of God, the king has said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him and his 50. Again also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50. And he answered and said unto him, O man of God, thus hath the king said, Come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, A man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third 50 with his 50. And the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came down fire from heaven and burnt up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore, let my life be now precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah, Go down with him, and be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. And he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, For as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, is it not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore thou shalt not come down off that bed which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. So he died according to the word of the Lord, which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the second year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaziah, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Okay. So now let's go into Second Kings chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into the heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord has sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. Now, when it says the sons of the prophets, that wasn't the sons, the literal blood sons of the prophets. Bishop or one of the deacons, I believe it was Bishop, went over this a while ago in one of the classes, but it's like a prophetic order or a guild, okay? All right, but it wasn't the literal sons, okay? All right, verse 4. And Elisha said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord has sent me to Jericho. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha, and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, Yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Tarry, I pray thee, here, for the Lord hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they too went on. And the 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off. And they stood by Jordan, and they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters. And they and there, and they were divided thither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so done unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and took and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces, and took up also the mantle of Elisha that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. Verse 14. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither. And Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophets, which were to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and bowed themselves down to the ground before him. And they said unto him, behold now, there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord hath taken him up and cast him upon some mountain, or into some valley. And he said, ye shall not sin. So the sons of the prophets were saying, hey, let us send men to go find him. And Elisha said, no, don't send them. Verse 17. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, sin. Okay, so they just kept on going. All right. And finally he just said, okay, go ahead. They sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, did I not say unto you, go not? And the men of the city said unto Elisha, behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground is barren. And he said, bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it unto him, and they brought it to him. And he went forth unto the spring of the waters, and the salt in there, and said, thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters there, and shall not be I have healed these waters. There shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. And he went forth, and he went up from thence unto Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she bears out of the wood, and tare 42 children of them. And he went up from thence to Carmel. From thence he returned to Samaria. Okay, so they was mocking Elisha, and he called for them 2 she bears, and they came out and told them little bad A children up. Okay. All right. All right, family. So That will conclude the reading for today. We read First Kings chapter 21 and 22. Okay. Um, and we read Second Kings chapter 1 and 2. As always, if you have questions on the reading, um, go to the four chapters a day and post your questions, and the captains will answer your questions. Okay. Somebody said it sounds like little black kids. Yeah, it could be. It'll be little black kids. You're right. So with that, family, this is gonna conclude the reading. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Stay in the Spirit. All right, and we are drawing near unto another Sabbath. All right, remember tomorrow. Thank God it's Friday. You have the deacons. They're gonna be bringing out the wisdom. So tune in, and of course, the Sabbath day. All right. So with that, I'm gonna say shalom. Why?